Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Paizo's Mark Seifter.
In doing this playtest for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, what parts of the rules have gotten the best response from players, and what got the worst response, if anything? Has this led to any changes in what you're going to release?
So, it's a very interesting question, because as I'm sure you know, there are so many different gamers, and all gamers are very passionate about how we game, including myself in there, about different playstyles, what makes our favorite character and campaign special. And so, as you might expect, in the data we are collecting, we have found that there's an awful lot of disparity in what people are saying. There's almost nothing that is universally loved or universally disliked. Even things that are very popular have some people who really don't like them, and often have very well articulated and good reasons why they don't. So, there's not really necessarily one thing that is like the most loved thing in the playtest. I mean, the 3 action system where you just do 3 things on your turn and don't have to figure out the calculus of, and I don't mean literal calculus, but the calculus of standard action, move action, swift versus immediate, and all of that is maybe close up there on not many people dislike it, but everything has its proponents and its detractors, and some detractors who even say, well, I almost do like this in principle, but it needs some adjustments to work, versus, no, this is the worst thing that has ever been done, burn it down, which is sometimes the thing we need to hear. So we've been making a lot of adjustments. In fact, we've put out 2, and it'll be 3 the Monday after this is taped, update documents that have, in some cases, some fairly substantial updates. The death and dying system, which even us on the design team, going up to when this needed to go to the printer, we had 4 competing versions of death and dying. It's like, well, we have to pick one, and no one was really completely satisfied with it, and so we've been tinkering it and changing it around. Hey everybody, signature skills are no longer a thing, huh? This is breaking, unless you've already read that. People were just having issues with signature skills, and some people, even in the building, were pretty skeptical of them for a while too, and we looked at ways we could change what they did, and we're going to try it without them at all, just to see if people feel like that the benefits of freeing up for the flexibility of just make the character that you want to make outweighs the possible loss of role reinforcement of, like, I'm this kind of character, so therefore there's something special about these certain group of skills for you. We think that overall players like to customize, so they're going to be pretty happy about not having any more signature skills.
An example of a new mechanic that I've heard players talking about a lot is resonance from magical items. What's the reason behind this? Like, what do you think it'll bring to the game?
We, just at the time of this taping, have put up a blog maybe a few hours ago talking about resonance a little bit, how we're kind of giving it a pretty close eye on whether it needs to be adjusted or abolished entirely, based on a lot of feedback that people have been giving us. So resonance has a lot of things that is trying to help out with, all of which Stephen has discussed in that blog. So, for one thing, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, due to the fact that stronger items have a non-linear cost increase, which they certainly need to have, otherwise why not just save up linearly for the bigger item? But this also means that getting at higher levels, decking yourself out in a Christmas tree of 100 little tchotchkes can be a significant issue, especially since we want all of those tchotchkes to be kind of a cool thing. When they come around, it leads to issues like, what was the vest the quick runner shirt that cost like 1,000 GP, and we needed to errata and ultimate equipment because otherwise you could just have 20 to 50 copies of this shirt around your group, and you just put a different one on when you've used it out because it gives you extra actions. So every fight, everybody puts on a new quick runner shirt at higher levels. When 50,000 gold pieces sounds like, oh well, that's a quarter of the cost of my sword to get 50, and that's probably an exaggeration on how many a group would have. Maybe a 4-person group, 5 each, 1 for each encounter. I don't know. The point is, Resonance helps out with that somewhat. In theory, it helps us reduce the bookkeeping of items like, this item can be used for 20 minutes per day, but they can be used 1 minute at a time, and they need not be consecutive, and only when the moon is full. They increases to 30 minutes, and this one is divided among in rounds, and this one can be used 5 times per day, or 7 if you're a gnome, or things like that. In theory. We didn't quite consolidate it as much as perhaps we should have in the actual book. It can also be used to, as a smaller side note, to work on certain other issues that are pretty connected, such as the ability to heal up for full by buying at high levels, or even not that high levels, by buying an incredibly large number of really inexpensive healing items, given that healing items also scale non-linearly for the action economy advantage in combat of using a better heal. So, it's a bad situation when there's a strange economic exploit that lets you heal up for free. I'm not saying healing up for free is a bad situation. I'm not opposed to a system where we just say, and this is because of new gamers, where we just say, yeah, after a fight you rest for a minute and heal everything. That's not maybe my preference, but I'm not opposed to it. The problem is that if you have a system where it's like, well, most of the new players think they don't heal up for free and that they're going to really be in a problem, but experienced players have found an economic workaround that lets them and only them heal up for free, and then sort of maybe bully newbies in some social situations, it can be a problem in that regard as well. So there are a few things it's been trying to work towards, and I know you've mentioned charisma as a thing that it does, which is it does give something else interesting for charisma to do. We found overall so far that people are not really running out of their resonance very much, but that doesn't mean that it's working well for them. A lot of it is about the feel. Even if there's something that never runs out of it, makes you feel bad, like you're in a bind all the time and always stretched and stressed, then it's not working. Even if you don't actually run out, other than the alchemists, they were running out because of the way their class uses it a lot. So we really need to take a look. We need to see what we're going to do, how to make it so that resonance feels more like a positive thing and more like it is helping us simplify down some of these complications, and less like it is adding more complexity or feeling like it's putting some kind of a stress on you.
So in Pathfinder 2nd Edition so far, classes are a lot more flexible, a lot more modular. Instead of getting set abilities at each level, you can pick a feat. So with this modularity, do you see maybe excluding some of the classes that were in the previous edition of Pathfinder? Things like Magus or Blood Rager might be something that could be built on top of a pre-existing class. Do you see that as being the case?
Well, it's interesting you bring up some of these hybrid classes, most of which were in the Advanced Class Guide, although the Magus, or the granddaddy of the other hybrid classes, did come out in Ultimate Magic. Because the hybrid classes, a lot of their origin came about due to the fact that, quite frankly, Pathfinder 1st Edition multi-classing and the way that it's worked almost since 3rd Edition Dungeons & Dragons has some problems when you're trying to create certain multi-class combinations. There are prestige classes that tried to patch that, like the Arcane Trickster and the Mystic Thurge, and where the Eldritch Knight didn't come through, the Magus did, as a full new base class. We can even see that because Saltiel, our iconic Magus, used to be the Eldritch Knight in the core rulebook. His art is there in the core rulebook under Eldritch Knight, and he became the Magus. So, because the new multi-classing system is very flexible, say when the Sorcerer multi-class comes out, assuming people like it, we said we'll put out all 12, but people kind of like it. So we're thinking about doing that. Once you have that though, with some of the Barbarian totems that are in the Barbarian and the Sorcerer multi-class, you not only have a Blood Rager with a lot of the same powers, you also have the potential to get up to 8th level spellcasting, which is way more Sorcerer spellcasting than the Blood Rager had at 4th level spellcasting before. All that being said, and the popularity of Wizard Fighter multiclass, not to be understated, it is the most popular multiclass so far in the playtest. Kind of really like the Magus though, even though it was created to fill this niche, but it also has some of its own things. So I'm gonna say it doesn't close the door on some of those classes showing up if they're very popular and people like them a lot. But it also doesn't mean that they don't have to, right? A lot of them things that make the Magus cool, some of which were just patches to fix the multi-classing of what do I do when I'm somewhat spelled and somewhat weapons, but I can't use them both. Now I can with spell combat. Our action economy lets you do that now, kind of any time. If you want, you can swing your sword and cast a 2-action spell. So, I mean, could a Magus be handled with a smaller archetype that had things in it like a spell strike ability or some of their other iconic abilities aren't covered? Or even, could it be handled with class feats in certain Magus-y classes? It probably could. That doesn't mean that's what we're gonna do. We might still make the Magus because it's, especially the Magus, out of all of those, it's very popular. Or, say, the Investigator, which got a real life of its own, despite the fact that it started as an alchemist/rogue hybrid class. But it means that we can give you a lot of the same cool stuff that required hybrid classes before, the Blood Rager being a good example of that. There's almost nothing the Blood Rager has that you wouldn't be able to just get covered with Barbarian and Sorcerer.
So, we've heard a lot about Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest. Now, where can our viewers buy it?
Well, you can get it for free. You'll be able to get the Pathfinder playtest book, what we like to call the playtest series, the Pathfinder playtest test series, and the 7-part Pathfinder Adventure Doomsday Dawn, the playtest adventure, all for free. If you have an account on Paizo.com, or just make one, then you can go to PathfinderPlaytest.com or follow the link from Paizo.com, and there are links for everything. Just download it all, and you got it. You're ready to go. It's free. We want you to play test and be able to give us your feedback. There are also links to the surveys on the same site. We have surveys up for each of the currently active parts of the 7-part adventure. We're sort of doing them in 2-week stretches to make it more of a shared experience where like different podcasters and other media guests are trying to do it at the same pace. And we're running them on Thursdays as well. So we put up the surveys. We're going to do some general surveys for people who may have played something else or just want to give general feedback. And we're really in high swing for collecting information, also with interacting with people through interviews like this, or also through our own in-house Twitch streams and blogs. We want to make sure we're more interactive in a bigger variety of different ways than we've ever been before in any of the other podcasts, to make sure we're reaching different groups of fans who might have different opinions than some of the traditional venues that are tried and true.